This is Ed, and you're on Global TV Talk Show. I'm in San Diego, California, and our special guest again today is Joseph McGuire from Dublin, Ireland. Welcome, Joseph.
Good morning, Ed. Delighted to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
And good afternoon to you. So, in the past, we talked about your book, Facial Facts, Face Facts, and that means how you come across, how to be camera ready, cognizant of all that risk, how to be better camera ready so that you don't screw up your verbal message with awkward facial contortions or whatever. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's that and a lot more besides. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So your book, I'm sure, is a smash success in terms of awareness building and sales for you. Why don't you just do a minute or two for the audience that may not be specifically familiar with that book, and explain why you think it's a rage right now across corporate America and corporate worldwide at the executive level.
Sure. Yeah, the thing is, we've learned through neuroscience and psychoneuroimmunology, so many other areas that we communicate before we speak.
Uh,
And that's one thing that a lot of people were missing because so many people were caught up in what we call the top 2 inches and the words and looking to persuade by words, but we don't ultimately persuade by words. We persuade by our presence and how we communicate through our presence is the most important thing. So when we think in terms of our faces, our facial features automatically communicate a lot about who and how we are, and then our facial expressions add to that, and our body language, and then we add in tone of voice, pitch, rhythm of voice. All of those things convey far more in terms of power of communication influence than the words themselves.
so just as an example, again, we're going out to the world, and the distribution of the finished program, which will start tomorrow, uh, will be a recorded version of this. So I'm going to take my glasses off, and I want you to tell me, give me some feedback.
Sure. Yeah.
Is this more friendly, or is this more standoffish, or the whiteness, the clarity of the frame as opposed to a black horn rim? Um, what's your take on how people like me should appear on camera for this
Yeah.
purpose?
Yeah. Where you're coming from, it's important to be friendly. So the lighter frame is better for you than the dark frame. A dark frame could make you look intimidating or very academic, which would not be quite what you're looking to convey.
Right. Okay. So it's intimidating, academic. These are keywords I'm pulling out,
Absolutely.
as opposed to the clarity or the see-through, transparency.
Yeah.
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 Well, good. That was the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because you want your guests to feel welcome. It's not
Right.
an interrogation, it's a conversation. And that's a big difference.
That's a great word, interrogation. Wow. Okay. So I also have a different background available, many different backgrounds in the same image, but a darker version, meaning not polluted water, but
Yeah.
it's more dark navy blue rather than blue ocean kind of thing. I love the blue ocean. I think it's happier and cleaner, of course. And I want people to see the logo, of course. So that's why I move out of the way. So back to your book, Facial Facts, Face Facts. It's so revealing how people uh, are afraid of this green light.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, people. That's one thing I learned a long time ago is that many people lack confidence. Whether you call it imposter syndrome or whatever, but many people feel there's something missing, something lacking in themselves, so they fear they're going to be exposed by the camera and then by whatever questions they're asked.
Yeah, and so their mind takes off, or they're not comfortable, or they're not media prepped, if you will,
Yeah.
and so they become extremely self-conscious, and they don't look at the green light; they look at you and me on the screen,
Yeah.
and it comes across. It can come across negatively, and not all the time. So I try to get my guests to relax and uh, it, so anyway, one of the things I saw about you and what you're doing in your marketing, your awareness building of the need for training is not just for executive presence, but to just clearly communicate what you intend to communicate rather than screw up.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I saw today from you was the use of a clip of boxers in the ring smashing
Mhm.
each other around. And it was part of your business to business approach
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the workplace today and lack of trust. And I guess that was the analogy. Is that right?
Yeah, that was part of it. The particular boxing clip I used was it's a former four-weight world champion, Pernell Whitaker, and he was known as one of the best defensive boxers ever. And he was so elusive in the ring. A lot of people just couldn't catch him, couldn't hit him. And the reason I used that clip was because if we communicate with clarity and with real understanding and awareness, not just in terms of what we want to communicate, but in terms of awareness and understanding of the audience, we can evade a lot of problems. So often, what passes for communication is people talking at each other, and it becomes like white noise, and then it creates confusion, misunderstanding, stress, and it often causes a snowball or even an avalanche of like emails, messages. Did it mean this? Were we supposed to do that? And people don't perform, don't produce. So when we get our communication very, very clear through our presence, through our words, like I say, we minimize a lot of problems, and we hit the target.
So a lot of people, I'm not going to say how many or what proportion, but some people don't understand things the way that I understand them or the way you don't understand them. And sometimes I lose that. I forget that because I think I'm speaking clearly and to the point. And yet the words are, even though me and my subject and the person I'm talking with speak English, some kind of English, the meaning isn't there.
Yeah.
Whether it's cognizant decline or inability to understand what the words mean, or just putting them together, or they're just being uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But we need to take into account who we're speaking to and how they process information. And so often, because we know our stuff, we know what we mean, we know where we're coming from, we have a history, etc. We have all sorts of maybe technical excellence, etc. We assume other people understand and process information the way we do, and that's rarely the case. So, for example, if I can take you as an example there, Ed, you're an ideas man. And if somebody gives you an idea, you need to explore it and you need to see where you can go with it, where you can take it, how you can develop it. But if somebody gives you an idea and says, this is what we're doing, and we're only doing it this way, and we're not interested in anything creative, that doesn't work for you.
Right.
So
A
automatically,
fish out of water.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So they need to take into account that this is who you are. So they need to present the information in the way you best process it if they want to build a bond with you and they want to potentially get something happening.
So one of the ways of building that bond, trust, is to say something like, uh, am I speaking clearly enough for you? Do you have any questions? Should I restate what I just said?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can make the assumption that people have understood that we have been clear in their mind. We may have been clear in our mind, but we have to be clear in their mind to have impact and to have influence. And then also make sure we're listening to them, because not just what they say, but how they speak will tell us a lot about how they communicate, not just how they communicate, but how they process information and how they think.
Yeah. So let's take this idea, this analogy, if you will, into the workplace today.
Hmm.
And a lot of senior HR people that I know on both sides of the Atlantic are reeling, are they don't know what to do about people working from home and dictating how many days they should be in the office and what goes on when they're in that office. Is it normal work, or is it meetings, or is it more networking time and get to know each other time? Which, I mean, it's all necessary, right?
Yeah.
But how do you, as a manager, let's say a middle manager, they're under great pressure
Yeah.
because the people underneath them don't like them or don't want to have anything to do with it. And the people above that mid-manager level are maybe too cool for their own good. And the middle managers are maybe under the cover resentful.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's all this mishmash going on.
Yeah.
How would you I mean, this is part of your training course, but
Yeah.
that's the core. That's core. And some companies are not doing well at that now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Some companies are really, well, fouling up, quite frankly. They're not communicating, they're dictating. And that's a big, big mistake. And it's a massive long-term mistake in terms of the bottom line. Never mind anything else. That's a big, big business mistake. It's costly. And if it's not costly now, it's going to be, because I think the world of business has been changing so dramatically, so rapidly, and that those changes are only going to escalate. And so many people over the last number of years, not just youngsters, but people up to mid-50s, have been either engaging in the great resignation or quiet quitting, as they're called, and just not engaging, not engaging. So middle managers are under huge pressure. There is absolutely no question about that. So the onus is on the individual. If the company is not providing support, the onus is on the individual to take care of their own well-being. So, like, things outside of the workplace, like meditation, making sure they're doing something for their own physical, mental, emotional health. But then they need to make sure they are really upping their communication skills so that they know how to communicate up, to alleviate at least some of the pressure on themselves, but also to communicate down, because they can get caught in the middle, and you know the artillery shells, as it were, can be can be very damaging. So they really need to upgrade their communication skills. Simple.
In your 5-week course, and you have some other courses too, this seems like a long time. So is it that way because of the deep dive in each module?
Yeah, I mean, I could do much longer courses. To be honest with you, I could, because I've got so much information. But I like to make it practical and accessible for people. I want people to be able to get practical tips, skills, understanding that they can take away and use immediately. And
Yeah.
if I overload them with information, which I have done in the past, I've made that mistake in the past. But if I overload them with information, it's just, for them, it's just more information alongside the pressure they're getting in work. So if I give them usable, usable slices, if you like, to take away, that they can use immediately and understand immediately and apply in real world situations, it gives them the opportunity to hugely improve their relationships on all levels: work, social, family, intimate relationships, etc. Because all the skills I teach are applicable in every area of life.
So let's talk about bringing people together in your sessions. It's not one-on-one. It's a group. Is it virtual?
Yeah, the next particular course is virtual. It's a group course. I do work with individuals, but this particular one is for groups. Yeah,
And it's virtual.
and it's virtual. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing a session right now, and it's just
Mhm.
you and me. But if you have what, 10 people, then you fill up the screen in kind of a Hollywood Square kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is fine. I have to share my own experience with the group idea. Like I just mentioned earlier, I have this October 11 event, and I have 9 speakers plus me, and we will record it both the gallery way, which is the display of the Hollywood Square faces, and then at the same time, we also record it with Hollywood close-up so that it's speaker generated. The camera takes over when, for instance, I'm speaking right now in the close-up edition. You'll People will just see me, and then you say something and the screen will immediately cut to you, as opposed to keeping it side by side like this. Do you employ that also so that people can take away both versions?
I don't have your technical skills, Ed, to be perfectly honest. Um,
I
I'm
didn't
not a
know I
tech.
had them either. It was a mistake, and I discovered that.
Absolutely, but you discovered it. You discovered it. Yes. No, I'm not a technophobe, but I'm not a technophile either. So, for me, when I'm looking at like the Hollywood squares as you described them, even those small images reveal so much to me. So I have a personal preference for looking at the Hollywood squares because, like I say, even like a little thumbnail image
Right,
gives me so much information about the
right,
person.
and you see how others are reacting to
Yeah. Oh yeah.
what somebody said, and that's
Yeah.
priceless.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into all of this? So were you a psychologist, or you just loved the psychology and you applied it to business?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading people when I was a small child. I just intuitively knew stuff about people. But
Right.
when I lived in London, I moved from Ireland to Israel for a time, and then I moved to London. And I was studying a branch of Oriental medicine there, and I was introduced to the ancient Chinese tradition of reading faces.
Ah,
And that just set light bulbs flashing everywhere for me. So I just immersed myself in that for several years. And the Chinese understanding was that um, the our mind and body are one unit, which neuroscience has confirmed. And but so although I was taught it initially as a diagnostic tool, the Chinese understanding was that not just the mind and the body are interlinked, but that each organ or body system relates to different aspects of our emotions and different areas of our mental processing. So you're getting like a composite picture of the individual just from their static facial features. And then I studied body language in detail. I've done a lot of stuff around interrogation, negotiation as well since then. So people are just endlessly fascinating, and there's always something new to learn and explore.
what is your time availability here today?
I have another 20 minutes before my next call.
Okay, we can wrap within that easily. Just want to know for my own pacing.
Yeah,
And so let's talk about that idea, pacing and communicating just like we did, without fear. And it's normal
yeah,
to understand that. So we know what to say or what not to say and how long to talk about issues. So being camera ready, not for you and me, because we basically know what we're doing in front of the camera, but a lot of people don't. And they're a little reluctant to even try.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So and particularly people in sensitive positions, not anything like top secret stuff, but they're unsure of themselves within a structure on the floor, or who's in the corner office and who's in a cubicle and that kind of thing. And do I have a right to go on camera
yeah.
when I don't know whether that person down the hall over there uh, likes me doing that? And so, me as say a junior, but up and comer, um, would shy away and refuse speaking opportunities. And yet that could be damaging.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I guess the first thing is to check company policy, to check with your manager, your boss, is this permitted, and what is permitted? because again, you can get people who are too shy, and you can get people who are the opposite, who are too extrovert and
Yeah.
go way over the top, and you don't want that either. And some people can just be intimidating by their presence. So you need to know exactly what the company policy is and what's
Well,
allowed.
that makes good sense.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about the concept of your work and your program, your workshops, and what your experience is. I don't expect you to divulge secrets here, but um, some things work better than others. And so the timing of what I read about on LinkedIn now is that you're focusing in on sharing details about why what you're doing is really important
yeah,
to business people, to everybody. But the workplace situation is, I think, uh, ground zero today.
yeah,
Rather than communicating with customers and prospects, of course, communicating to the boss is uh, very important. But within the workplace environment where the middle manager has what, 5 to 10 people um, that they're responsible for, something like that. And you may have a great relationship with somebody down the hall in the corner office who's a VP, but it
mhm,
doesn't count because you got to deal with this jerk who's your supervisor.
yeah,
And you don't know whether he's going to like people who have my last name or whether they like my skin color or what, you know.
yeah.
And it's so difficult, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges there, I haven't been in that role for a long, long time because I've been my own boss for so many years now. It feels like the last 200 years at this point. But one of the things one of the challenges there is to get our own feelings and our own emotions out of the way. If there's somebody we regard as a jerk, the boss, their supervisor, manager, whatever you want to call them, if we regard if we're not if we don't particularly like them, we have to get that out of the way. We have to get that out of the way, take the emotions out of it, and recognize that this is the reality we're dealing with. So we need to be, if you like, we just need to be strategic about it, and we need to see how they operate. What is it they're actually looking for, and what will make them look good? Because we have to make sure we're acting and being seen to act in their interests. And it may take a little while, but what we find when we do that is that their approach to us softens. They become more approachable, more welcoming, and more appreciative of us. And it opens a door.
Okay, so let's announce what your LinkedIn is or your website.
The LinkedIn, I'm more active on LinkedIn. My website needs more attention. It's not as up to date as it should be. But you'll find me on LinkedIn, and you'll find me under Joseph McGuire, and that's McGuire.
Great. Thank you for being my special guest today in this short version of, well, we could talk forever on this topic. At least I could.